Hello, dragons. Oh, hello, dragons. I don't know if I started that right. You get a new set of hands today. I wish I could get, like, in front of you, but I don't think it's going to work. So you're going to have to watch my hands today, but I hope you enjoy this new voice. This is Miss Habits. So we're going to start out Unit 4 today. So if you go ahead and make your paper like your Cornell notes here. And the title of our next unit, which is Unit 4, is Linear Forms. So I'm going to title this Unit 4, Linear Forms. So, as I told you guys, we're going to be doing linear equations until Christmas. So, we are doing more linear forms. Okay, for today, we are focusing on point-slope form. So, point-slope form of a line. So one thing that you already know the first form of a line, which is called slope-intercept. The slope-intercept form of a line. And that is the equation y equals mx plus b. So go ahead and put a box around that because that's one of the linear forms. Now you guys think we make up all these funky math terms to be difficult, but look, M stands for slope, B stands for the y-intercept. Let's go ahead and note that down here. This is the slope, and B is the y-intercept. And so that's why the form is called the slope-intercept form, because if you get a line in this form, you can just read off the slope and the intercept. Pretty sneaky, huh? So this is slope-intercept form. So the one that we're going to learn today is called the point-slope form, because sometimes we are given a point and a slope and asked to get the equation of the line. So we're going to write down the formula first. So the formula is y minus y sub 1, it's got a little 1 down there, is equal to m, the slope, times x minus x sub 1. So put yourself a little box around this. This is going to be the main formula that we use today. So let's go ahead and write this out to the side in your Cornell notes in your left column. So again, this is called point-slope form. So when you're reviewing, you can find the important things over here. So I have y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. Okay, so that's my point-slope form. Now, just to show you real quick, I want to show you guys where this comes from. We know that the slope is the change in y divided by change in x, which we sometimes write like this. y2 minus y1, go ahead and write this down, divided by x2 minus x1. That equals the slope. All right, you guys have seen that before. Now, if I manipulate this just a little bit, I can derive the point-slope equation. So I want you to see where it comes from. So I'm going to draw my line through the equal sign. I'm going to take both sides of this equation and I'm going to multiply by that denominator of x2 minus x1. Okay? So anything on top and anything on bottom, a numerator and denominator, if those are the same, this cancels with this to make 1. So I have 1 times the numerator on this side, which is just y2 minus y1, is equal to m times x2 minus x1, which looks incredibly similar to the point-slope form. So the point-slope form, it seems new, but it really is just another way to write the slope formula. It's just manipulated a little bit to derive that. Okay, so that is point-slope. So let's just draw a little line right here. And we're going to do some example problems so I can show you how to use this. So example 1, I'm going to give you a point. This point is 3, 4, and I'm going to give you a slope of 2. Okay, so sometimes you're going to be given a point and a slope. If you're given a point and a slope, hopefully it makes sense that you would use point-slope form. Okay, so look at what you're given and that tells you. Now let's go ahead and write down what I want you to give me. I want you to give me the point-slope form. I'm just going to abbreviate it a little bit. So I want you to give me the point-slope form. I want you to give me the slope-intercept form. I also want you to give me the y-intercept, which is my b value. And I'm going to have you give that to me as a point. And I'm also going to have you give me the x-intercept. Now we haven't talked that much about the x-intercept. The x-intercept, just like the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis, the x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So let's write this over here on our left-hand column. So my x-intercept, let me move this up just a little bit. My x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. The x-axis. Okay, it is also called the zero. Okay, it's also called the zero. So new vocabulary right there. So the x-intercept or zero, we're going to find that as a point as well. Okay, so let's draw a little graph over here. I'm just going to kind of sketch out what this line is going to look like. So I know only two things about it right now. I know the point 3, 4, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time like drawing little tick marks, but I'm just going to kind of estimate. So 1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2, 3, 4. So my point is about right there. I have a slope of 2, which can also be written 2 over 1. So that means I go up 2 over 1, and my line is going to be something like that. Okay, so at least I know in general where it's going to be. So let's go through and get these things. So if I want to give the point slope form of the equation, let's go ahead and write down my formula. Y minus y1 is equal to m x, x minus x1. Okay, so I write down my formula. Now I have my slope right here of 2. I also have a point. I'm going to call this point x1, y1. Okay, this is the x1 value. Let me erase my line up there. It's getting in the way. So that's my x1 value. That's my y1 value. So now we're just going to plug everything in. So my x1 value is going to come over here and go into x1. My y value is going to go in here into y1, and my slope is going to come down here into the slope. So I'm just going to plug in those three numbers. So I have y minus y1 is 4 equals, my slope is 2, x minus 3. Okay, this is my first answer. So let's go ahead and put a box around this. This is my point slope form. So I'm going to check that off. I've given you point slope form. Now, for slope-intercept form, remember that slope-intercept is the one with the slope and the intercept, so that's the m and the b. So I've got to get this into the form y equals mx plus b. So we're going to draw our wall through the equal sign, and we're going to think back to our solving equations unit before this. What is the first thing that I'm going to do with this to solve for y? That's right, I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to bring my y minus 4 down, and then I'm going to distribute my 2. So I have 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Okay, then I'm still trying to get this y by itself, so I've got to get rid of this negative 4. So I'm going to do the opposite on both sides, positive 4, positive 4. My 4's go away to 0, so I have y equals 2x minus 2. This is my slope-intercept form. Okay? So we have now done slope-intercept form. Now the next thing it's asking is for my y-intercept. Well, my y-intercept is my b value. Remember, this is y equals mx plus b. So my b is negative 2. Okay? Which we can see, we kind of estimated where that would be. That would be down here. What is that point right there? That's right. That point is 0 first and then negative 2. Okay? So that is my y-intercept. So let me write that down. My y-intercept is the point 0, negative 2. Okay, so if they ask you for the b value, it's negative 2, but this is actually the point. Now, the last thing that we haven't been asking for is the 0 or the x-intercept. So that would be this point right here, and we don't really know what that point is. So there's a way to find that mathematically. I'd be happy to show you individually if you want to do that, but I am going to show you how to find it on the calculator. So go ahead and grab your calculator, and let's go ahead and clear it, because there may be some junk on it from whoever used it before. Okay, so I'm going to do second plus 712, so second plus 712 till my RAM is clear, and then I'm going to go to y equals. Let's go in and put this slope-intercept equation that we just found, let's go ahead and put that in y equals. So I have y equals 2x minus 2. Now, I'm going to show you two things. First of all, I want to check and see if this is actually the right equation, if I did my math right. So if you remember up here when we started the problem, we were given the point 34. So let's go make sure that this point 34 shows up on my slope-intercept line as well. If it does, that means that I've done my math right. So in order to go find the point 34 on my calculator, I'm going to go to the table. So remember, that's up here in blue, so I have to go second graph. And I'm going to try to find the point 34, and there it is right there. There's the point 34. So we did do that correctly. Now, in order to find the x-intercept, this is another thing we can do. Let's go to the graph and look at it. So it looks like it's crossing at -2, but let's just be sure that's exactly where it's crossing. So we found intersection points before. It's going to be the same menu to find the x-intercept, which is also called the 0. So to find this, you're going to go second, trace, and we want to find the 0. That's the same as the x-intercept. So pick option 2. And this is a little bit, you got to think about what it's asking. It's asking you for the left bound. So you have to put a left boundary. I'm going to go to the left of the point that I'm trying to find. So I'm trying to find this point right here, the x-intercept. Okay, so I can go right there. I'm still to the left of it. You're just hitting your left and right arrows. And when you feel that you're to the left of it, anywhere to the left of it, you can hit enter. Now it's asking me for the right bound. So I got to go, remember, I'm trying to find that x-intercept. So now I've got to go to the right of where it is, hit enter again, and it's going to guess. We don't care about what the guess is. We're going to go ahead and hit enter again. You notice it's put two little markings up here. It's going to find the 0 on this line between those two markings, which is our 0 right there. So I'm going to hit enter again, and it's telling me that my 0 is 1. So the point where my 0 is the point 1, 0. It tells it to you right there. So let's go back and write that down. So my x-intercept, or my 0 as we call it, is going to be the point 1, 0. Okay? So now we've found all of those things. So let's write down a couple of calculator steps just to make sure that we know what we're doing. So I'm going to write over here on the left-hand column, I'm going to put the word calculator just so I know that's where my steps are when I'm looking back. Okay, so to check my math, I'm going to go to y equals, so there's my little y equals button, and I'm going to put in slope-intercept equation. And then I'm going to go second graph, and I'm going to check for the point. So we checked for our original point and made sure that that was in there. Okay, to find the 0, what I'm going to do is I am going to go to second and trace, and then that is option 2. So I'm going to go to option 2, which says 0. Okay. And then I have to do my right bound, left bound. So I'm going to do my right bound. I'm just going to put R bound and left bound. And then enter. The button here, I'm going to put enter through all that, and that's going to give me my 0. Okay? All right, so let me go to my next piece of paper. We're going to do another example together. Okay. I'm going to try to speed this up because I'm taking too long. Okay, so let me go to my second example. So my second example that we're going to see is I'm going to give you 2 points. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 points, the point 5, -1, and the point 3, 5. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to give me the same things. Give me point slope, give me slope-intercept, I'm just abbreviating, give me the y-intercept, and give me the x-intercept, which is also called the 0. Okay. So to start out in point slope, I have my point slope formula, y minus y1 is equal to m parentheses x minus x1. Now, I have my points up here. I've got 2 points. I'm going to call this one x1, y1, and I'm going to call this one x2, y2, because that's the first point and the second point. Okay, so I've got an x1 and a y1, but I don't have a slope. Well, I have 2 points. So for 2 points, there are 3 different ways I can think of to find the slope. I can either put those 2 points in stat and have it give me the slope. I can create a table, or I can use the slope formula that we talked about at the very beginning. Okay? Okay, so you go ahead and pick your favorite way and go ahead and find the slope. I am going to use a table to find my slope because I think that's probably the fastest for me. So I'm going to put my points in a table. Now, if you found it another way, you don't need to write this down. So I'm going to find, I remember my slope is my change in y divided by change in x. So to go from -1 to 5, I have to add 6, so that's my change in y. To go from 5 to 3, I have to subtract 2, so that is my change in x. So my slope here is my change in y divided by my change in x, which is 6 divided by -2, which equals -3. Okay, that's my slope. Hopefully that's the one that you found. So I'm going to plug that in here for m. So using my x1 and my y1 and my m, I'm going to plug into the formula. So my y1 this time is a negative number, so it's going to be y minus -1. Now, what is minus a minus? It's a plus, right? So minus a minus just turns into plus. Now, I'm going to give you a little habit special here. When I have minus a minus, here's the way I do it. It's pretty tricky, so pay attention. I'm going to go y minus -1. Check that out. Saved me some strokes there. I just did it all together, didn't make the 2 signs and all that. So habit special, y minus -1 is equal to, my slope is -3, x minus x1 is 5. Okay, so this is my first answer. That's my point slope equation. So notice, if the x value is positive here, it's going to go into the formula right here, minus, because there's a minus in the formula, and the y is negative, it's going to go in as a positive because it's minus and negative is positive. So that's my point slope. Now, you go ahead and solve this for y, for slope-intercept. Okay, so let me do that real quickly so I can get caught up with you. So I have y minus 1. I'm going to distribute -3 times x is -3x, -3 times -5 is positive 15. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, so I should get y equals -3x plus 14. That's my slope-intercept. I could go and put this into the calculator and check it right now. I'm not going to do that on the video, but this is the correct answer, so I can go and check that. Now my y-intercept, remember, is on the y-axis, so my y-intercept, my b is 14, but I need to write that as a point. So since it's on the y-axis, my x-coordinate is 0, my y-coordinate is 14. Now we are going to go ahead and do the calculator part for the 0. So let's go back and go into y equals, and let's put our new equation in there. So -3x plus 14. And remember, you can go, well, I guess I will go ahead and do it just to show you. I can go to the table and make sure these 2 points are in the table. So let's go to the table, and let's see, the first point is 5, -1, which is right here. The second point is 3, 5, which is right here. So we did the math right. So let's go to the graph. And there is our x-intercept. It looks like it's between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's in there somewhere. We might have a decimal this time. So to find that x-intercept, it's also called the 0. I'm going to go second trace. And I'm going to find the 0 value, which is option 2. Now, I don't know where the cursor is. I can't see it right now. If you can't see it, it's telling you down here where it is. So it's at the point 014 right now. That means it's like off the graph up here somewhere. So I need to go a little bit to the right so that I can see my cursor. So I'm going to the right. Okay, there we go. Now I am to the left of that point. Even though I was going to the right, I just came down to the left of that point. So let me put an enter. So that's going to put a marker there. Now I'm going to go to the right of it. So you just hit the left and right arrows, not the up or down. You're going left and right. I'm going to put another marker there with enter. So it's going to find the 0 on this line between those 2 points, which is right there. So hit enter again. So I've got 4.66666, which is 4 2/3. So I'm just going to go ahead and round that this time to 4.7. Okay, so my point is 4.70. So I'm going to say my 0, or x-intercept, is the point 4.7, approximately 0. Okay? All right, let me show you 2 more things real quick. So let's put a line under that example. Now these are really fast. So these last 2 things are super fast. So this is example 3. I'm going to show you how to go backwards. So I'm going to give you an equation in point-slope form. So write this down. Y minus 3 is equal to 1/2 parentheses x plus 7. And this time I'm going to ask you to tell me what is the point x1, y1 that's in that equation, and what is the slope. Okay, well let's write our formula down so we can make sure we remember it right. So y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. So the m is really easy. My m right here is just 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and write my m down because that one I'm pretty sure of. Now, this is y minus y1. This is y minus 3. So y1 is positive 3. So that's my y coordinate. Now for x, this is a little bit more tricky. I have x minus x1, and that's the same thing as x plus 7. Well, I have to figure out x plus 7 is x minus something, okay? I've got to get what this is from the formula. So x plus 7 is the same as x minus negative 7. So my x1 is negative 7. So what I want to show you is, I just want you to get this in your head, whatever the value looks like in the point-slope form, it's going to be the opposite sign in the actual point because the formula has negative signs in it, right? So negative means opposite. So if I have for my x-coordinate a positive 7, since the formula says take the opposite of that, that's actually negative 7. Since the formula says take the opposite of this value for y1, if it says negative 3 right here, I'm going to put positive 3. Okay, so let me give you one more to try. So here's example 4, last one. Y plus 8 is equal to 3/4 x minus 4. Okay, again, I'm going to ask you for the point, and I'm going to ask you for the slope. Okay, so your answers should be slope is equal to 3/4, and, oh, sorry, I put x1, x2. What I meant to put is x1, y1. Sorry about that. Okay, so my x1 is positive 4 because I have to take the opposite sign, and my y1 is opposite sign of that, which is negative 8. Okay? Now, you can also do this with word problems. Sometimes in word problems, you'll have a word problem where it's clear that they're giving you a point and a slope. So if that's the case, just use the point-slope formula now instead of slope-intercept, and you can solve for slope-intercept. All right? Thanks, Dragons. Have a good day.